Dear students, today we are discussing what is time cost trade-off analysis. It is an extension of network analysis. Now, what is time cost trade-off analysis? It is just means that crashing or excusing or expediting the time taken for an activity, or to shorten the critical path of an activity. Then time cost trade-off analysis, it is the extension of network diagram. We assume that for each activity the completion time can be reduced by spending more money or resources on the activity. So each activity has more than one possible completion time, depends upon how much money or resources we are willing to spend on it. It mainly used to shorten the project duration or critical path. This can be done by selecting some activities on the critical path to shorten this duration. What are the major objectives of time cost trade-off analysis? It used to finish the project in a predefined deadline date and recover early delays, avoid liquidated damages, free key resources early for other projects, avoid adverse weather conditions that might affect the productivity, receive an early completion bonus, and improve the project cash flow. Then we are discussing the normal terms used in the time cost trade-off analysis. First one is normal time. The normal time is the standard time that an estimator would usually allow for an activity. The normal cost, that is the direct cost required to complete the activity in normal time duration. Then crash cost and crash time. The normal time of an activity can be reduced by incurring additional cost. The additional cost may be due to hiring additional personnel or resources, etc. This reduction term is known as crash cost or crashing. Then minimum time beyond which an activity time cannot be crashed even by incurring additional cost. This is known as crash time. And next is project normal cost or time. The sum of the normal cost of all activities of the project is known as project normal cost, and the sum of the normal times of the activities in the critical path of the project is known as project normal time. Then direct cost, it includes the expenditures on plant, machineries, land, building, architects' charges, etc. These costs have a bearing on the duration of the individual activities. The next term is indirect cost. It includes the overhead charges, administration expenditures, accommodation expenditures, etc. These are related to overall project duration. Then optimal project duration, that is the project duration one which results in minimum overall cost. Overall cost, that means indirect cost plus direct cost. Then activity cost slope, it indicates the additional cost incurred per unit of time saved in reducing the duration. Then what is crashing of a project network and what are the steps involved in it? Crashing means reducing the activity time. Activity time reduction is also known as crashing or squeezing. There are 6 steps involved in the time cost optimization procedure. First step is to find out the critical path and identify the critical activities. Then calculate the cost slope. Cost slope, that is equal to crash cost minus normal cost divided by normal time divided minus crash time. Then rank the activities in ascending order of the cost slope, because we have to reduce the cost of the project duration. So we have to rank the activities in ascending order. Then fourth step is to crash the activities in the critical path as per the ranking. That is, activity having lower cost slope would be crashed first to maximum extent possible. Calculate the new direct cost by adding the cost of the crashing to the normal cost. Then fifth step, as the critical path duration is reduced by crashing as per the step 3, other path also become critical. That is, we get parallel critical path. This means that the project duration can be reduced by simultaneous crashing activities in the parallel critical path. Then last step, by crashing as per the step 3 and 4, one reaches a point when further crashing is either not possible or does not result in the reduction of the crashing of the project duration. In this time, the total cost is got by adding the corresponding fixed overhead cost to the direct cost, and the direct cost is got by adding the crashing cost cumulatively to the normal cost of the activities. The next term is resource allocation. Network analysis also used for resource allocation. A resource is a physical variable such as man, material, machine, space or money that is required for completing various activities or jobs in a project. The network analysis can be successfully carried out if the availability of resources is liberal or unlimited. For a given network, the requirement for various resources are determined using early start schedule of each activity, because these activities which are to be performed simultaneously or may require common resources. And there are two types of there are two procedures are there for the resource allocation. First one is resource smoothing and resource leveling. Then two resource allocation procedures, resource smoothing and resource leveling. Resource smoothing, it is simply the proper utilization of load can smoothen the demand of the resources to the maximum possible extent by reducing its project duration. This type of resource allocation is called the resource smoothing. Then resource leveling, these are the activities in a project demanding various levels of resources that should not go beyond the prescribed level. This operation of resource allocation is called resource leveling. Then updating. Updating is a term used in the network diagram. The activities based on the progress of the work and revised durations of unfinished activities due to delay. The network diagram has to be redrawn, and this process is known as updating. Thus, the updating is the adjustment made in the network diagram because of the departure from the project schedule. It is the process of incorporating in the network changes occurred due to replanning and rescheduling. It is due to the errors in estimation of the during planning, unforeseen circumstances like non-availability of materials, breakdowns of machinery, etc. The updating is the process of replanning and rescheduling by taking into consideration the new knowledge and the latest information at an intermediate stage of a project, and thus modifying the original network. Then these are the steps followed in updation. First one, we have to draw the original network. Then original network calculation chart, stage at which the updating is being done, the execution position of the project at that stage, and the new information and the knowledge which will affect the duration time of the activities to be performed. These 5 informations are needed to update an project activity. Next is when we are updating an project activity. First one, for shorter duration project, the updating must be done frequently by taking into account the latest position of the execution of the project. And for large duration project, the process of updating must be increased as project is progressing towards the completion. Whenever there is major change in the duration of an activity, the updating is to be done, and updating is essential if there is a change in the estimated duration of an activity falling on the critical path. In these 4 cases, we have to update our project duration.